Despite people asking me to make this video, I didn't think I needed to. It wasn't until I saw people defending the R3 T20 that I decided to try it out myself. Sometimes you might think a vehicle is overpowered, but once you get your hands on it, it turns out to be average or in some cases pretty bad. After playing the R3 for a decent amount of time, I can definitely say that it deserves its reputation as a blatantly overpowered and under-tiered vehicle. So for the people that think it's fine, or are just somehow unaware of it, I'm gonna do a rundown of why it's so overpowered, followed up by a theory as to why Gaijin hasn't done anything about it yet. People will often cite the stabilizer as being the main issue with the R3, but I don't necessarily agree. Don't get me wrong, the stabilizer is absolutely ridiculous, but stabilizers don't matter all that much when using automatic weapons, and especially not when the RPM on the gun is as high as the R3's. No, I think the biggest issue with the R3 is its ability to dictate the terms of a fight the vast majority of the time. The R3's mobility isn't just high, it's so high in comparison to everything it faces that it can dip in and out of engagements pretty much at will. It can get to positions the enemy doesn't expect just a few minutes into the match. I've had enemy players fail to hit my R3 purely because their turret couldn't traverse fast enough to keep up. Winning a fight against an R3 has nothing to do with personal skill. It just comes down to if the R3 driver makes a mistake or not. While the R3 doesn't have a lot of penetration on paper, it has enough to kill most things pretty easily. I saw some R3 players saying that there isn't really anything you can do against T-34s, but that really isn't true. The R3 is somehow capable of penetrating the T-34's turret face, and can also pen the lower side. The fuel tanks eat the rounds if you aim directly beneath the turret, but if you aim somewhere in the middle between the turret crew and the hull crew, you can kill both. Even the Churchill isn't safe. If you shoot at the top of the rear plate, you can keep setting the engine on fire. If you have their gun taken out, there's nothing they can do. The only tanks I've come across that you simply cannot kill with the R3 would be the T-14 and the KV-1. You don't even have to be right next to a lot of tanks to kill them. I was able to get a 5-kill game in one life on Kursk of all maps. R3 players will also argue that the magazine size is too small, and that the reload is too long. I can't say I have the same complaint. Not a single death of mine was caused by a lack of ammo. You usually shoot the gun out of the tank you're engaging, so it doesn't matter if it takes 9 seconds to load a new belt. Even if they repair before you finish reloading, you can simply drive circles around them. Due to its high rate of fire and high muzzle velocity, the R3 is great for destroying planes as well as tanks. I was too busy being a quasi-tank destroyer to even take shots at many planes, but the ones I did shoot at, it only took a short burst to kill them. The R3 is surprisingly stealthy as well. It's obviously pretty small, and has a fairly uniform profile, but I would assume that most players would be able to spot it at close range, or at least hear the engine idling. I found this was not the case. You could also chalk it up to inexperienced players, though with the event going on, I noticed a fair number of high-level players trying to grind in lower tiers. This only adds to the R3's ability to pick which fights it gets into. Ambushing someone from a small corner or crevice is basically a guaranteed kill. And if, for some reason, you are engaged in your R3, it is way more durable than people make it out to be. I've bounced 75mm rounds to the front, and I've had shells pass straight through my side, only to have it take out a single crew member. I've had my wheels or transmission shot out probably a dozen times without hull breaking. I think the vast majority of my deaths can be attributed to losing all my crew members, not hull break. But if the R3 is such a problem for low-tier vehicles, why hasn't Gaijin done anything about it? Well, technically they did. It just didn't fix anything. The R3 was originally 3.3, but was moved up to 3.7. This clearly wasn't enough, but I think I know why Gaijin hasn't moved it up further. If you check out the Thunder skill stats for the R3, it's actually doing quite poorly. I can think of a few reasons for that. For one, the R3 is a go-to vehicle for events. If someone needs to cap points to complete a task, they'll rush straight for a cap in their R3 without any caution. This usually gets them killed right away. And second, some R3 players are genuinely not very bright. I noticed a decent number of R3 players whose only goal was to rush into the enemy spawn as fast as possible, hoping they could get a few easy kills. Suffice it to say, this usually didn't work out. Just like with the Tiger, the R3 is a textbook example of why vehicle battle ratings should not be determined entirely by player stats. The R3 could move up to the 5.0 range and still perform just fine. It would still have Shermans and T-34s it could kill, but there would be a lot more heavy tanks to worry about. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time harping about it. As always, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one.